To the Sacramento Regional Transit Board meeting for Monday, July 27th. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Director Budge. I don't see Director Budge. Director Harris. Director Howell.
Okay, see you later.
Grace muted, but she's here. Barrett.
Okay, Director Hume.
Here.
Director Jennings.
Here.
Director Kennedy.
Here.
Director Miller.
Here.
Director Natoli. Director Sneer.
Here.
Director Serna.
Here.
Chair Hansen.
Here. And Mr. Harris, could you mute your mic? We're picking up some interference from you.
Okay. Director Harris is on. I'll go again, Director Natoli. And Director Budge.
Gary, can you also mute your mic?
Well, with that, we have a quorum at 91 votes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I saw Congressman Barrett on. I don't know if you would like to lead us in the pledge.
Hi, this is Don Natoli, calling up through.
Donna's here.
Thank you, Director Natoli.
Welcome, Congressman Barrett. We'll give you the floor in just a minute, but would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure, I'm happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you for being here, Congressman. I know our clerk wants to read an announcement into the record, or our normal announcements, and then we'll turn the floor over to you right after that.
Chair Hansen?
Yes.
Your mic's acting up again.
Yeah. That's why I read.
Okay, I'll read the statement while
Yes, there you go.
This meeting of the Sacramento Regional Transit District will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air on Wednesday, July 29th at 6 p.m. and Thursday, July 30th at 6 o'clock p.m. on Channel 14 and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. It is also closed captioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Hopefully people can hear me now. It's my pleasure. We're going to take Congressman Barrett first. To welcome the Congressman. Dr. Barrett has been a great supporter for the district, working with our delegation to bring federal monies and support through FTA to the district. And we're honored to have you here today, Congressman Barrett, to share a few words with us. Obviously, we're very grateful for the CARES Act money that Congress has provided to ensure the stability of our public transit system, and many of the other things that you've done to assist. I know with a unique perspective as a doctor, you may want to comment on the overall crisis as well, but the floor is yours. Thank you, Dr. Barrett, for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember Hansen. And, again, I can look at the folks on this virtual call and see a lot of friends here. We're facing this unprecedented crisis in terms of the challenge of this pandemic that's not just affecting our community in our region or our state, but is affecting every state and every country in this world. And it is demonstrating the challenge that the viruses do. And while we did very well on the front end in March, April, and May, we're obviously seeing the resurgence and the continued circulation of the virus. And most of us that spend a lot of time looking at this, thinking about it, converse with the CDC, and I know Dr. Fauci well and others. If you listen to the words carefully, we understand that this fall and potentially winter are going to be long, and the things that we can do that are within our power, wearing the face coverings to minimize our spread of the virus, but also to protect each of us, the physical distancing, the good hygiene, washing our hands, using hand sanitizer. Those are things that we very much have within our control that can help mitigate the spread of virus, slow the spread of the virus down. Cannot stop the virus, though. It's exciting that you're seeing some of the phase 3 trials that are starting today, the Moderna vaccine. There are several other vaccine trials that will get underway here in the United States. And the hope is by late December, early 2021, we'll start to get the results and actually have some effective vaccines. We're learning more about the virus that's helping us manage the virus. And again, to the credit of the Sacramento region, for the most part, I think most of our populace is doing what they can to help mitigate the spread of the virus. But we're in this for the long haul, and we have to be in this together, looking after one another, caring for one another, and making sure those populations that are most vulnerable get the help that they need. You're also starting to see the secondary and tertiary effects of the virus. Certainly, we've been aware of the economic impact, but the secondary effects of the virus are the food insecurity that you're starting to see in the region and across the country. The number of folks that have never gone to a food bank who are starting to show up needing to put food on their tables. The housing insecurity that many people are starting to feel, and their ability to pay their rent, their ability to pay their mortgage. And this is where the federal government actually has to step up and help. Now, I wish I could tell you that, when we looked at the Republicans' first foray into the next COVID-19 package, the next CARES package, that it had what we wanted in there. I don't think it goes far enough. I mean, if you look at the bill that we passed almost a little over 2 months ago, back in mid-May, the HEROES Act, I think that is a much better bill. That's our starting point. It has funding for state and local governments, which we absolutely believe is necessary. If we don't do that, you'll start to see mass layoffs in the public sector, which will just add to the unemployment crisis that we currently face, which probably would take us into a depression. We think the $600 in enhanced unemployment benefits were absolutely helpful to many Americans who needed that to pay rent, to put food on their table, et cetera. The Republicans have started with $200. I don't know where this ends, but we think somewhere, it may not be where we started, but we do think, and most economists agree with us, that at this particular moment in time, knowing that we're looking at something that is 6 to 12 months out in terms of recovery, we've got to pump those resources to help people keep food on their table and keep a roof over their head. It doesn't get any more basic than that. With regards to something that's obviously really important to what all of you do, in terms of surface transportation, we did pass a bill out of the House of Representatives. I don't sense that bill is going to get taken up in the Senate. And my best guess is in the midst of this election cycle, you'll probably get a temporary extension of the current surface transportation funding, and that'll get pushed to after the election to see how that turns out. So it'll probably get pushed to December, and we have to do something by September 30th. No, everyone understands you can't let those funding streams expire. So again, I think there'll be a temporary extension that happens in September, and that it gets pushed to December. So that's where we are. And, just again, as a region and as a country, we have a choice. We can do one of two things. We can come together. We can try to address this pandemic and the secondary and tertiary effects of the pandemic together, looking after one another as the United States of America. Or we can take a go-it-alone strategy and be 50 separate states. If we're 50 separate states, this will be longer, harder. There will be more morbidity, more mortality, and the suffering will take a longer period of time. Or, as we mourn the loss of our colleague, John Lewis, we can do this together and we can look after one another. So, that's the perspective that I hope we rise to the occasion and find our better nature and understand that we're in this together. So with that, Steve, I will pass it back over to you. I'm happy to take the question or two.
Thank you, Congressman. We have a little bit of time for one or two questions. Would anybody like to ask a question? It looks like you've got an easy crowd tonight, Congressman.
Okay.
Thank you for your service.
We will be fighting for that state and local funding because I know how important that is to our community. So, I don't think we're going to give too much on that. So, thank you. Be well.
For your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's call the consent calendar.
Consent calendar items 2.1 through 2.12.
Do we have any board members who'd like to pull an item or ask a question about items? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move consent.
A motion from Director Howell.
Second.
Who made the second?
Hume.
Okay, Hume. Thank you, Director Hume. Any questions? I don't see any hands raised. All right, Madam Clerk, why don't you call the roll?
Director Budd?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Aye.
Director Howell?
Yes.
Director Hume?
Yes.
Director Jennings?
Yes.
Director Kennedy?
Aye.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Natoli?
Aye.
Director Chenier?
Aye.
Director Cerna?
Aye.
Chair Hansen?
Aye.
With that, the motion carries at 100 votes. I do have public comment on item 3.1, which was the Congressman Barrett introduction.
Okay, please share that comment.
Okay, I have two comments. The first one is from Jeffrey Tartagia. He said, "Will we have a transportation bill from Congress? I have discussed this with him in the past." And Mr. Lee responded that we are working very hard with him on the subject.
And he did address that issue, Mr. Tucker, if you're watching.
And then the second comment is from Mike Birnbaum. Greetings, Chair Hansen, Vice Chair Miller, and the Honorable Congressman Ami Bera. First of all, Your Honor, it's both an honor and a pleasure to have you in virtual attendance at today's meeting. And for that, I want to say thank you. In having the floor for a moment, I have one question for you with some background leading up to the question. In May, the House passed the $3 trillion HEROES Act, of which is now resting with your colleagues over in the Senate. Your Honor, could you describe in detail what the House version of the HEROES Act has for the benefit of public transportation agencies across the country, including but not limited to Amtrak funding, and what similarities and differences the HEROES Act has for public transportation compared to what the CARES Act already has provided to financially benefit public transportation? Specifically, in whatever final version materializes from the HEROES Act, will it, in particular for public transportation, allow agencies like the Sacramento Regional Transit District to use the financial assistance and gains towards expanding fixed route and smart ride services? Sincerely, Mike Birnbaum, Sacramento Region Community Transit Ambassador.
Great questions, Mike. And unfortunately, the Congressman got away before
we could answer that, but I know the agency will continue to work on maximizing our return from the federal government and with our congressional delegation. And while cap to cap has been postponed, if the FAST Act is continued, that will give us time next year to negotiate with potentially a different administration on the issue. So thank you, Cindy.
You're welcome. The next item is public addresses the board on matters not on the agenda, and I have 2 comments provided by the public.
Please.
The first one is from Mike Birnbaum, and because it's over the $250 word limit, I am going to just read the body of it. It's reports, San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority update. Mike Birnbaum, the July 24th virtual board meeting was canceled. The next meeting is scheduled for Friday, September 25th. It will most likely be virtual in nature. Stay tuned as there are 3 scheduled Sacramento Regional Transit Board meetings on the calendar prior to September 25th. In the meantime, their 2 biggest projects that would have an impact to the SACOG region are the Stockton Diamond Project and the Valley Rail Project. Full details on those projects are available over at sjjpa.com for your review and consideration at your convenience. YOLO Go and YOLO Bus. I had the opportunity to attend the July 13th meeting of the Yolo County Transportation District. They really want to go back to having outreach on the YOLO Go project. There is debate because of a combination of factors pertaining to COVID-19 and the digital divide as to how to go about making public engagement on this project all-inclusive, while having a zero tolerance policy toward discrimination and or leaving anybody from the public and partners out in any way, shape, or form. The second topic that has implications in Sacramento is the Causeway Connection bus route. There is some indication that the number of trips on this route will be increased on the 30th and or the 31st of August, whereas YCTD staff expressed that it may be more practical to increase the number of trips offered on September 27th and or 28th. There may not be information that can be fully confirmed on this until their board meets again on Monday, August 10th. Stay tuned to this developing story and what their agenda has leading up to their August 10th board meeting. Sincerely, Mike Birnbaum. The second comment that I have is from Jeffrey Tartagia. When will the letter be provided to public and board response and actions be disclosed? The closed session board meeting. When will within city construction interfering with bus stops be kept current on RT's website? Example 9 and I Street for 30, 38, 62, 86, 88 and access to light rail stations 11, 51, 100 series stop at Capitol and 8. How is every other public transportation agency asked for billions, as in 3 billion, because less than 20% ridership and RT is not? I raised question about public safety on new low floor light rail cars. I hear contract for 20 cars has been signed. Does anyone know specifics? Percentage low floor, how high stations need to be raised, like I-80 elevators, Wi-Fi, replacement ticket machines, and other open projects. When does the public get to know? Now that Measure A is dead for November 2020, let us start over for 2024. Do this correctly, building grassroots to educate. Why Sacramento needs a transportation tax? ? Jeffrey Tartagia.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for reading the public comment. Next item, please.
The next item is the General Manager's Report, item number 8.1.
Good evening, Chair Hansen and members of the board. I want to first thank Congressman Barrett for joining us today and providing those wonderful comments. He's a tremendous leader, and his support for public transit, especially Sacramento's $100 million funding that was included in the CARES Act is greatly appreciated. I'm deeply grateful for him taking his time out of his busy schedule to speak to us. Today, after my brief remarks, I would like to introduce California Transportation Agency Deputy Secretary for Innovation, Mrs. Lori Pepper. And then the Secretary is leading a number of innovative transportation projects for the state of California, including making the Wi-Fi buses project possible. And she's going to share achievements and some lessons learned regarding the program, and then we will have a paratransit Sacrament Go update from Carmen Oba, Acting VP of Operation, and Jamie Edmond, Assistant VP of Finance and Treasurer. But first, I just want to give some short briefs. As always, I would like to provide an update to Sacrament's COVID-19 responses. After 4 months, unfortunately, I have to report that the impact of the pandemic have finally caught up to Sacrament. We have been successfully, keeping the virus away from us by implementing best safety procedures. And the last 2 weeks, we have had a couple of confirmed cases of COVID-19. Some from the maintenance shop, some from the frontline drivers. But we have taken every precautions to trace back to where they stay and make sure safety measures are near. We have gone to a great length to ensure the safety of our employees and the riders, and the news of positive tests among our workforce is difficult for all of the Sacrament families. And this is a reminder that we need to continue to be vigilant and proactive in our cleaning and sanitizing efforts. As you are well aware, we have taken meticulous steps to lower the risk of employees and customers contracting COVID-19. I would like to remind the public that masks are required to ride Sacrament. Thanks to federal, state, and other partners, we have procured or received hundreds of thousands of free masks and other personal protective equipment. Working with the State California Volunteers Agency, we have deployed ambassadors along our system to distribute masks and educate passengers. And next, I would like to take a brief moment to address the recent news that STA has decided not to move forward with the transportation ballot measure in November 2020. Considering the atmosphere of uncertainty with COVID-19, this was a tough but prudent decision, but we have learned a lot of sense throughout this process by listening to the community and have a better understanding of the transportation network we design. It is clear that public tremendously values Sacrament's ability to reduce congestion and to address our region's air quality and climate goals. Additionally, as the region looks to recover, the public wants a sales tax measure that will jumpstart the economy by creating jobs and securing as much federal and state funding as possible. As the University of Pacific study shows that $8 billion measure will be able to bring additional $12 billion federal and state funding. There are Sacrament's strengths, and I believe the community will rally around additional local transit funding support in the near future. And the Sacrament is in good financial shape compared to many of our peers. Standard & Poor's Financial Service, a highly reputable bond rating agency, just recently reaffirmed a good financial bond rate standing, stating that they have a lot of confidence in SAC-RT, specifically expressing that SAC-RT is faring better than most transit agencies across the country, and it is due to our very strong management and the board governance policies and practices, along with strong physical policies and results. With or without a Barrett measure, SAC-RT will continue to optimize efficiencies and put our customers and employees first, as we always have. We will continue to compete for grant funding as we can focus on service excellence. And those tremendous works have again been recognized by the industry. In last 2 weeks, SAC-RT has received awards from 3 different organizations for our outstanding commitment to Sacramento community for public outreach, communication, safety and security, and physical responsibility. We were notified last week that SAC-RT has won Golden Award from the American Public Transportation Association APTA 2020 APTA Rail Safety and Security Excellence. This is really unexpected award. And this is the top honor in the nation for our rail security program and efforts to reduce crime and fuel evasion. And it is a testament to the emphasis this board and the staff have placed on having the cleanest, safest, and most secure system possible. Thanks to our management and the staff for the great job, especially Lisa Hans, our VP of Security and Safety. We also received 2 awards from the California Association of Public Information Officers for public outreach campaign, SAC-RT Forward, and Ride Free RT. This is a little bit unique because we're competing with thousands of public entities in California, not just transit agencies. Lastly, as we shared with the board earlier, SAC-RT took first place for APTA's 2020 Adwell Award for the best comprehensive outreach campaign in the nation for our efforts around SAC-RT Forward. These accomplishments have all been possible because of our dedicated SAC-RT team members, the vision of the board of directors, and the extraordinary support from our stakeholders. We shall be proud of these accomplishments and while we continue to strive for excellence on all fronts. With that being said, Secretary Pepper, thank you for joining us today, and the podium is yours, please.
Thank you so much, Henry. I know I sent Cindy some slides today, so I know it was late, and I apologize for that. Unfortunately, this was not public until last Wednesday. So thanks again, Henry, and the entire SAC-RT team, as well as our many partners who I know are listening in, for really just jumping in with both feet to make this proof of concept successful. In California, we have 364-ish independent transit agencies, many of which do not have the resources to do their own business development. And therefore, I believe the state's role centers around developing new ideas for agencies to try and to show what's possible. Prior to COVID-19, I was considering how to support transit in a way that helps it to thrive and not simply survive. And I considered 2 pathways: additional use cases and new revenue streams. And once COVID-19 hit, we saw that more than 340,000 Californians were at the nexus of being essential workers who solely relied on public transit to get to work. Transit agencies are critical to ensuring the ongoing business of our state. And when the agencies started necessarily reducing some routes, I decided to try to take advantage of an opportunity to try one business development idea, which was the mobile hotspot. So next slide, please. So in order to show all transit agencies throughout the state what's possible, I needed to conduct a proof of concept. After that decision, it was easy to call the city of Sacramento and SacRT, as both are well-known proponents of innovation. But this proof of concept shows that we have an opportunity to go beyond simply providing general access to high-quality broadband connections. This model can also be used in emergency responses, as a mobile communication center, and to support outdoor activities events, along with probably countless other ideas. So next slide, please. Our proof of concept served a great purpose to test and perfect the technology, staffing logistics, location choice, and consumer acceptance. As you can see in the slide, we learned quite a lot, and the entire playbook is available on CalSTA's website.
I'm sorry
under
to interrupt. Director Budge, can you mute your line?
Yeah, love to.
Cindy, can you help her, please? There you go.
There we go.
Please continue.
Sure. So we learned quite a lot, and the entire playbook is available on CalSTA's website under broadband deployment. We also had several entities reach out from within California as well as across the country. And in fact, the County of Maui DOT launched their own Wi-Fi bus last month. Additionally, I've spoken with representatives from Los Angeles, New York City, who I spoke with along with SacRT and the city of Sacramento, Georgia, Michigan, Connecticut, and others. Sacramento has endured the troubleshooting phase, which has already and will continue to help other jurisdictions be able to smoothly implement their own programs that serve their community. Again, you can find the full playbook on the CalSTA website, and I want to sincerely thank the entire SacRT team, as well as our other partners. And I know this is just the beginning of great partnerships to come. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you for that great presentation. Do any board members have comments, questions? I just want to thank the agency for considering us a trusted partner and working with SacRT and the city. But ultimately, this was a joint project with telecommunications providers and the agency. And I'm very proud to see that other people are interested in using this as a model for other activities, not just to help with COVID, but emergency response. And maybe even Friday night football when it comes back at our local high schools. I know Director Jennings is excited about that part.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Did you want to say something, Director Jennings? No, okay. I saw your finger. I wasn't sure if that was a hand up. All right, thank you. And Mr. Lee, please continue with your presentation.
Thank you, Laura, again. Lex, Carmen, and Jamie, floor is yours, please.
Hi, good evening. Chair Hansen and members of the board, thank you for giving us the opportunity to go over the SacRT Go project transition with you all tonight. My name is Jamie Adelman, and I'm the AVP of Finance and Treasury for SacRT, and I was one of the co-project managers along with Carmen Alba, our acting VP of Operations. One thing I've been saying about this transition is there's the old euphemism that it takes a village to raise a baby. Well, this time it took a district to get SacRT Go up and running. And we are very happy and very pleased with the outcome. It was about 9 months of a lot of hard work and dedication, and we think it really paid off. So tonight, with this presentation, what I want to do is kind of tell a story with the pictures and the faces of the individuals who really made this project successful. So if you go to next slide, please. We lovingly dubbed our engineering conference room as the war room. This was the space where the core operations team met on a daily basis with our masks and socially distanced to make sure that we were all on track that last month leading up. You can see there was an epic checklist there of everything that had to be done, but we were doing everything that we could to keep ourselves on task and on track. And, we went a little old school, but it worked out for us there. Next slide, please. So this transition really did touch almost every single department at SacRT. Our IT department did a great job. There were integrations and configurations with almost every system at SacRT, including a new phone tree that Sandy worked on diligently with us to get that rolled out to make sure that we met all of the customer needs and expectations for the SacRT Go service. Next slide, please. We also had a lot of build out that had to be done. So in these two pictures, you can see a mix of our facilities crew, our IT crew, and Jan from safety in our what is now our SacRT Go Operations Center that houses all of our reservationists and dispatchers and operations manager and assistant manager. Next slide, please. We also did a significant amount of customer outreach, and that outreach had to change halfway through our plan because of COVID. So you can see there on the left, we did some virtual open houses, and I think we went viral there with 142 views on one and 134 on the other. But we felt like that was a pretty good outreach, and we got some good comments and feedbacks. We had great interactions with the participants. They were asking questions and we were responding live to any questions or concerns that they might have. And of course, we did an outreach video. Jessica from marketing did a great job. I was taking a picture of her taking a picture so that we could catch her in action because she doesn't get caught in action very often. Next slide, please. Staging of the vehicles. This was actually the Saturday before. So on Saturday, June 27th, we had to move 120 vehicles into place. So on the left, you see Albert in the hat and the mask, and then Matt Meebach, they're in our maintenance department, and then myself and John Lee on the right is when we were getting ready to move all of our vehicles into our 4 different locations around the Sacramento area. Next slide, please. And here are our 4 yards. We've got vehicles at CBS, which is at McClellan. We've got vehicles here in downtown at Maine. We have 50 vehicles at our Florin location, and we've also got 5 vehicles out at our Hazel yard. And I will say that the 4 dispatching locations is one of the things that made this transition challenging, and it made it difficult. And, it was a lot to balance, but I think we did a great job managing all of the different locations to really provide efficiencies in the service so that this way we can make sure that we're dispatching from locations that make more sense for where our riders are. Next slide, please. And this is a fun thing that we did. One of our last transition meetings, we had everybody participate and wear a hat. I think everyone needed a little levity at that point. We'd all were, just a couple weeks away from launch, and we wanted to just do a little hats off to the team and to SacRT for everyone's great job efforts that they had put into the transition project. Next slide, please. And this is some insight into all the training that happened. So we had to schedule training for all of the operators that came over, and then also all of the reservationists and dispatchers that we brought on board. A total of over 100 people we had to get trained up and ready to go in about a month's time. So we did NEO sessions, new employee orientation. We had SacRT Go 101 with our operators. We had behind the wheel training with operators. And then also we had to do some training for internal existing staff, which were our road supervisors that provide that extra oversight and coverage out on the road for our operators. Next slide, please. Some insight into day 1. So reservations day 1 was actually Friday, June 26th. And then dispatch day 1 was Sunday, June 28th. And we were all there bright and early that morning, about 3:30. So at this point, we were all probably ready for a little caffeine. But I think we all, came together as a team, and we did have EcoLane on site. There are dispatching software. They provided 2 of their staff members to be on site, and provide support actually through that full first week of our service. So that was very helpful. Next slide, please. And here's our pullout on day one. This picture on the left is at our Florin location. So that was on Monday. The service runs Monday through Friday out of that site. And then on the right-hand side, there's Carmen out there with one of our operators. It was really all hands on deck, and everybody was out helping and doing whatever they could to make sure that we had a successful launch that day. So titles didn't mean anything. We were out in the yard helping with radios or whatever needed to happen. Next slide, please. We, of course, were taking COVID-19 precautions. That's Steve on the left there providing us with all the PPE that we needed for our remote dispatch locations. And then Jessica and I, that was the day we went out and were working on the photo shoot for the the customer outreach video. Next slide, please. And at this point, I will turn it over to Carmen Alba, our acting VP of Operations, to go over our KPIs.
Good afternoon, Chair Hansen, members of the board. I'd like to go over our key performance, high-level review of our key performance indicators today. June represents the 28th through the 30th. We're still in the month of July, so these numbers aren't final yet, but I did want to provide this board with an idea of what we're looking like. I would like to share that I pulled an updated report for on-time performance this morning, and I can report that we have an improved percentage. So instead of the 84, we achieved an 87 that month to date. And the reason for that is last week we achieved an average 95%. So every day last week we had between a 91 to a 98%. On-time performance is very important to SACRT. It's one of the KPIs next to safety, of course, that we keep a really close watch on. We understand that our riders rely on us, and that's why we're going to continue to make these improvements so that on month to date, we're able to report in the 90s, which is industry standard. The other thing I'd like to share here is that we're on target to transport. Our ridership there at the time of this was 10,548, but we're looking at, we're forecasted to provide 13,000 passengers. I'm sorry, 13,000. And that's 40% of prior year in 2019. On a weekly average, Monday through Friday, we transport 450 today. And that was last week's number. Next slide, please. So going forward, just want to share some of our goals and what we're thinking. Here's what we're focusing on: collaboration with the MAC. We understand how invaluable their guidance is to the success of SACRT Go. We've had a few conversations with them and again, find that very valuable. Equal lane scheduling software. In our first month of service, we already made slight modifications to this system parameter, which is how we improved our on-time performance throughout the month. And then also training for operators. Jamie talked a little bit about training, but we recognize that refresher and ongoing continuous training provides for a safer and higher quality customer service for our riders. And finally, new technology. In collaboration with the MAC, we are looking to roll out new technology that may enhance our customers' experience even further, including voice recognition feature in the phone system, online trip booking, and a mobile app. I'd like to close. Next slide, please. I'd like to close with a very short video clip of our startup. So there's a little push button at the bottom. Adam, if you could select that, please. Okay. Well, what that shows is the bus going through the banner there. Sorry about that technical difficulty there. It was a very short but fun video. We had fun there the last few days because it all came together. That concludes our report. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Carmen, and your whole team for all the great work. This transition was a huge thing, and from what we can tell, you've done a great job. Nothing is perfect, but you guys are continuing to improve, and we're very proud of what you've been able to do. Board members, any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I just want to add, the transition, during the transition time, the PI, Paratransit Inc. and the SACRT have kept a very, professional relationship, amicable, relationship, and we'll continue to work together like true partners.
Thank you. And I was going to thank Director Hume for his continued service on the Paratransit Board, and Tiffany Fink, who's the executive there, for her partnership along with her team. The floor and location where we're dispatching out of, I believe, is the lease space that we are partnering with Paratransit to use. So thank you to Paratransit for assisting us in a seamless transition. Thank you. Thank you, Carmen. Henry,
Thank you. That concludes my GM report.
Okay, great. Do we have public comment, Madam Clerk?
We do. We have 2 public comments. The first one from Helen O'Connell. This is Helen O'Connell, and I would like to bring to the attention of the board that some of my friends had to wait an hour after their pickup time to be picked up back during the hot summer day. It's not beneficial to most of their health. Please check into how this can be addressed. Thank you very much. Stay safe and healthy. The second public comment that I have is from Mike Birnbaum. Prior to taking my first COVID-19 test with negative returns in Southland Park, I had the opportunity to virtually attend the Capitol Corridor Board meeting. The discussion on budget and throughway bus service between Emeryville and San Francisco became very passionate, and that's saying it lightly. Director Spearing wants a dedicated Amtrak throughway bus, but both myself and Director Rayburn are in favor of open public transportation via AC Transit Line F realignment to serve the Emeryville station. This Transbay route currently serves UC Berkeley, Emeryville, and downtown San Francisco. Stay tuned, as it appears that this topic will become a very strong service and budget item during the September board meeting. Capitol Corridor is spearheading the South Bay Connect project. The first telephone town hall was July 15th. They will hold another one in August because there were too many people in the phone queue. Log on to southbayconnect.com for full complete details. In closing of this item, the June 17th CCJPA board meeting is fully accessible on the Capitol Corridor YouTube channel. Mike Birnbaum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any further items? I know we have our closed session, but do we have any comments from the directors? Seeing none, I'll adjourn. Oh, Linda.
Chair Hansen, I think Linda Budge.
Yeah, I just switched back from the agenda to the screen and I saw Director Budge leaving.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay, so Cindy, we just all got another public comment. I don't know whether it is acceptable at this point.
I did not see one.
From a lady named Angela Herring Jackson.
There's a motion from people who hear the name. It's simple to say either discuss.
I got it too. It was for items not on the agenda.
I just saw it. Madam Clerk, do you have it?
Let me check just a moment, please.
Yeah, I hope I just forwarded it to you, Cindy.
It said it was submitted at 4:30, but it may not have come through.
Yeah, it just came up on my screen.
Yeah, thank you, Director Budge, for pointing it out. I can read it if you'd like, Madam Clerk.
Angelina Elizabeth, yes, I just got it as well. I'll be happy to read it.
Please.
My name is Angelina Herring Jackson, and I have advocated for a smart RT ride for North Natomas for the past 3 years. I have participated in the SAC RT GM chat, specifically asking for a microtransit smart ride since September 2018 and 10/5/18, 2119, and 3119. I have asked specifically for funding at the Sacramento Transportation Authority Board in September of 2018. The JIBE picks up commuters at certain times at designated stops in Natomas, drops them off, and vice versa. NNTMA under contract utilizes SAC-RT buses, dispatch, and operators. The JIBE does not recognize and or accept SAC-RT bus passes or student ride for free program. North Natomas west of I-5, Duckhorn and beyond is the only region of Sacramento that is purposely underserved by Sacramento Regional Transit. According to SHRA, there are 4 apartment complexes west of I-5 that cater to low and very low income and disabled residents. Out of the 4 complexes, 2 are completely isolated from public transportation provided by SAC-RT. In January 2020, SAC-RT added 6 additional Smart Ride service zones that did not include North Natomas. In June 2020, SAC-RT expanded 3 Smart Ride service zones. On July 15, 2020, Congressman Doris Matsui announced a $100 million Federal Transit Administration grant to support SAC-RT during the COVID-19 pandemic. If public transportation is truly a lifeline, when will SAC-RT provide essential public transit to the residents of North Natomas? Angelina Elizabeth.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I know staff will probably provide a response to that, but to the extent that fare media can be used from RT on JIBE, that might be an improvement to the current contract, as well as improving our Smart Ride access up there. Director Cerna, I saw you jump on. Would you like to address that as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out and perhaps prompt Henry to jump in as well. I appreciate the comments that were issued. However, I take a bit of issue with some of what was said, especially relative to service west of I-5, as following our, at great depth analysis of how best to restructure our bus service. I believe we actually now run the 13 almost directly in front of the apartment complexes that were referenced, right there near the intersection of Del Paso and El Centro. So, Henry, I don't know if you wanted to add to that, but there was a very concerted sub-initiative, if you will, when it came to the route optimization exercise that we did that specifically looked at that very area that the commenter has expressed concern about.
Yeah, yes, Director Sir, we did lots of analysis, try to provide as much service we could. I believe we recently expanded Smart Ride service in the area too, and we can provide the details later.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all. Seeing no further comments from the board, I will adjourn us to closed session. You have a separate link for closed session. If you didn't get it, please contact Cindy.
And if I may read the item for closed session, please,
Sure.
so the public is aware. Closed session, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D, anticipated litigation, 1 case.
Thank you, and we'll reconvene in closed session.
Record. Stop recording. Okay.